Our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends. Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hello everybody, it's Saturday night and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show because Alex told me. I'm Dr. Renee, you know me. As usual, I've got alongside me Will Kingston, Alex Armstrong, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show.
The Conservatives are still up the creek, but they may have found a paddle.
Digital ID, the gift that just keeps on giving.
He's the President of Peace, so let's give him a Nobel Peace Prize.
Division is not the pathway to change.
And in news to nobody, reform is frankly unfit to govern.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, everybody. Now, I mean this, it's either your worst nightmare or your lucky day. But yes, you're stuck with me in the host chair again. Alex is having a rest to my left, and Will, I've just pushed him away. Yeah. Don't adjust your radio. Don't.
It's scary.
Do pour a drink. We've got a fabulous 3 hours ahead, packed with news, nonsense, and just enough chaos to keep Ofcom nervously refreshing their feet. It's been an interesting week. We've got a lot to cover. I did ask, I promise, if I could demonstrate a taser on Kai live in studio, purely for educational purposes, of course. But HR said no, cowards they are. I tried to you, Kai got to them. So anyway, settle in. We might have something else for Kai later, I promise. We've got truth to tackle, nonsense to expose, and egos to roast. So let's get into it. And of course, we do want to know your views as well. Send your views in to gbnews.com/yoursay. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the 5. No topics off limit. And please put Ask the 5 before your messages if that's what they're for. And now vote in the poll to see what we're going to talk about today. So today we're asking, should all drugs be legalised? 2, should we declare China an enemy of the state? And 3, should second homeowners be banned from buying news builds? Couldn't make it up, could you? But before we start tearing each other apart or practising things on Kai, it's your Saturday night news with Aaron Armstrong.
2 minutes past 6 in the GB newsroom. Some breaking news to begin. Former Lost Prophets singer Ian Watkins has died after being attacked in prison. The paedophile rock star was serving a 29-year sentence for child sex offences. It's understood he was attacked with a knife at Wakefield Prison in Yorkshire earlier this morning. Emergency services were called, but Watkins was pronounced dead at the scene. A small number of people have been arrested at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London to mark 2 years of the war in Gaza. Police say it followed a scuffle between several individuals after a group of counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the demonstrations apart. Protesters, though, insist marches will continue until a free Palestine's achieved.
Israel's violated every ceasefire agreement it's held. But we also come here knowing that Donald Trump's plan is not a pathway to an enduring peace.
We've been marching for the last 2 years for a free Palestine, not for a ceasefire, although a ceasefire is really good. They've called ceasefire before. It doesn't mean Palestine's going to be free.
With ceasefires in the past, they've only lasted a few days before the bombings started again. So I don't really believe that it's a true ceasefire. And that's why we're here today, because the war isn't over.
Rescue teams in Gaza have begun recovering bodies from ruined buildings after Israeli troops withdrew from some areas under the ceasefire deal. Tens of thousands of people have been travelling back to what's left of their homes in the north of the territory as the fragile agreement between Hamas and Israel continues to hold. This drone footage captured over Gaza City shows the extent of the damage. Humanitarian aid has begun to enter the territory, although aid agencies have expressed frustration that deliveries are yet to begin in force, with hundreds of lorries still waiting at the Rafah border crossing in the south. The UN declared a famine in Gaza in August as a result of Israel's blockade. Meanwhile, crowds have gathered in Tel Aviv in anticipation of the release of all Israeli hostages. Hamas has been given 72 hours to free the captives, which will expire on Monday. Israel has already begun transferring Palestinian prisoners to 2 jails ahead of their release as part of Donald Trump's deal. Former US President Joe Biden is receiving radiation therapy for prostate cancer, which was diagnosed earlier this year. His spokesman says the treatment's expected to last 5 weeks and marks a new point in his care, adding the 82-year-old is doing well. The former president was diagnosed in May with an aggressive form of the disease, which spread to his bones. Finally, if you're travelling to Europe from tomorrow, leave early and be prepared for delays as new biometric border checks come into force. Visitors arriving in any of the Schengen area's 29 countries will have their faces and fingerprints scanned under the new entry-exit system as the EU dispenses with passport stamps in favour of a new digital system. Authorities hope that despite initial delays, it should eventually offer a streamlined process. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 7.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. Now, over the next 3 hours, we'll have the biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. And Widdicombe will be joining us to discuss the graffiti art installation at Canterbury Cathedral that has ruffled many feathers, including mine and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk. Plus, we'll be speaking to the asparagus fortune teller who predicted Brexit and the Queen's death. Will any big predictions be made tonight? And will Kai be part of this story? Well, before that, let's crack on with tonight's first debate. And I'm going to abuse hosting, so it's me, I'm afraid. It's been a busy week for Keir Starmer. Super smooth in India. He even dropped a bit of Hindi.
Mujhe yaha aapko bahut khushi hui.
Well, guys, after that, I kind of wish he'd stayed in Hindi, especially when he told our very own Catherine Foster in crystal clear English about his dreams for his new, shiny digital ID.
Here in India, I think it's 1 billion people have digital ID. It's been taken up on a voluntary basis in huge numbers. Not least because it means that you can access your own money, make payments so much more easily than is available with others.
I mean, look, guys, I've been warning you about this for a few weeks. First, it was you'll need digital ID to get a job to stop illegal migration. A lie. Now, it's your money, your kid's school and your everyday life, all tied into a government-controlled ID system. A system, by the way, that the UN targets for its 2030 plan. You will own nothing and be happy. And the WF state should be an aim for every single human on the planet. And just as Labour quietly pulls the plug on a spy-in trial so that it collapses, so that they can keep things cosy with China, the China-Britain Business Council has set up working groups focused on this digital economy, data utilisation, regulation and governance. Yes, your future ID system is being workshopped with China. Could it get any worse, guys? When Starmer smiles about this brave new world, remember what digital ID really means. They will track what you buy, where you go, what you say, and if they don't like it, it might sound far-fetched, but they will switch you off. Call me a conspiracy theorist again. Alex.
Well, I translated what he said in Hindi there.
You're so talented.
Yeah, do you know what he said?
Aren't you fluent?
He said my dad was a tool maker. Listen. This whole digital ID charade. I mean, the British public. He's got the reverse Midas touch, doesn't he?
Yes.
It started off as being a popular policy, and within 10 minutes of the Prime Minister talking about it, well, the British public aren't stupid, are they? They understand that this is an element of control. The state is already overbearing on them as it is, and they don't want more of it. They saw how badly vaccine passports went down. They see how much control the government wants to take on their civil liberties, and they're saying no. And I think he's going to have to reverse course.
You know what I hate almost as much as the policy itself, and that is the cynicism with which it has been sold. They recognise that illegal migration is an issue which so many people in this country rightly care about. This, at best, is tangentially helpful. More likely, will make absolutely no difference for the same reason that a national insurance number makes absolutely no difference to this illegal market.
And will cost hundreds of billions.
They are doing it cynically because they don't want to reveal the real reasons for this policy, which are the reasons which Renee articulated.
No, come on. The only thing that's really cynical and a charade about this is how we're being told, and Renee, you've been doing this a whole lot the last few weeks, the British public is being told a whole raft of things that are, number one, the worst case scenario, and number two, we frankly don't know. This is being consulted on, right? And you can say that you don't trust the government this way and that way, and that, you know, this will lead to drift, a slippery slope, but we don't know. And actually, at the base of it, all this does, it make digital what was paper, make easier what is currently hard.
I hate to break.
So I will call you a conspiracy theorist today, because that's what you are.
I hate to break it to you in government, but worst case scenarios are a reason not to do something, not a reason just to ignore it and hope it doesn't happen.
All the
when you've got
other democracies across the world who are comparable, who have had digital ID systems, that's not led to drift across the world. Well, so Estonia, for instance, we hear about a lot.
Should we talk about Estonia?
Yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's do it.
Had massive data leaks from their digital ID over the last
that
year.
happens. The status quo allows for data breaches. The Afghan data breach was an unencrypted spreadsheet that was released into
I think the fact of the matter is this, though. I think this is it, right? I think we'll hit on it. It's the way it's been sold. Oh, you don't like the illegal migration coming on? It's the same thing like COVID. No, but it's like the whole COVID thing. We don't need it. And we know it's going to cost an absolute fortune, and it's been sold in a way to scare us. And it's actually a good thing, actually, that people have woken up. I am actually shocked. I don't know about you guys. I thought people might just go with it. But the fact that people have gone against it, I've got some hope for the actual British
about how it's going to lead to a social
because
credit
we don't
system,
trust what's going to happen with it. No, that's not obvious.
No, right. So 3 weeks ago, he said it was to control migration. That was it. In India, he said you will be able to access your own money. Well, I don't know how to break this to him, but I already can access my own money in my bank via my bank card. I don't need the government to do that for me. And I've gone through life, Kai. This is honestly how I approach life. What's the worst case scenario here? Can I cover it off? If I can cover it off, I know I'm going to be fine. I can't cover off a social credit system.
And can I also add, Kai, we are already seeing examples every day where the government is making steps to change behaviours and impose a certain level of morality. That's what non-crime hate incidents are used for. That is the reason why online speech is being policed. So you can't just say, well, we don't know what will happen, because we can already see several examples where the government has said, we want to regulate your morality, and this is the easiest way for them to do that.
Slope, and that's what it is.
Used to be a time when we were sceptical of government.
Yes.
We didn't trust the intentions of government for good reason, because we know governments have constantly abused and grown their responsibilities in our country and many countries around the world. You should always start with a fundamental scepticism of what governments are trying to achieve. Without that fundamental scepticism, they will walk all over you, they will take full control. And unfortunately, what we're moving to is a sort of pseudo-communism where you end up with this at the end of it, or even if it takes 100 years. Hang on, no, but hear me out, because even if it takes 100 years, governments always want more. They are a beast, and then you need someone to come in and kill the beast and stop the beast from growing. It's like a cancer.
Pseudo-communism mixed with nihilism. Kai's whole, oh, well, we don't really know what will happen, so who really cares? Let's just spend money on this boondoggle and hope that the worst doesn't actually eventuate. Communism plus nihilism is not a good combination.
Kai, the last time I was called a conspiracy theorist was when I said children are not at risk from COVID. We must not put this vaccine into them. I was called a conspiracy theorist. Guess what, Kai? I was right.
I'm not saying that raising concerns makes people conspiracy theorists. I'm not saying that this, in the worst case scenario, couldn't be a bad move, of course, and we should be sceptical of governments. But to tell people with absolute certainty that this or that will happen, as we hear all the time, that's why people don't like this policy. Not because how it's been sold by Keir Starmer.
Well, no, but the Prime Minister, the buck should stop with him. It never stops with him, unfortunately, does it, Kai? That's the problem. It's constant him saying, oh, someone else told me that this is right and wrong. And the reality is the Prime Minister has sold us immediately on this being an illegal migration thing. That's going to solve that. Now that's been debunked almost immediately. He's now stopped saying that, which proves to me that they have an alternative reason they want you to have digital ID. I think there's a problem they want to solve and that they're trying to sell it to you.
But I think it's because
it's snake oil.
It's boring.
It's snake oil.
It's because this is, as I say, making digital what is now paper, making things easier in public services in a way that is actually quite mundane, and that's not sellable as a policy. That's why I don't realise.
Let's gaslight the British public instead, shall we?
Before we end this, I'm going to say to you that actually it's much bigger than Keir Keir Starmer. It's not even really his policy. There are so many diktats that are not in law, but they're there to be done from the UN, from the WEF, from the WHO, who wants to run our lives at the next pandemic, that they will do this. And that's why you're absolutely right. It's happening all around the world. But on that final note, I'm not going to let you speak back because I'm going here. It's time for the Great British Giveaway. That's made him quiet, didn't it? So make sure you don't miss out on your chance to become our biggest winner of the year with a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. If we could send Kai off in this, it would be great, wouldn't it? Here are all the details you need for the chance to make it yours.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British Giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back, everybody. Still to come tonight. Alex, what have you got for us?
I don't know why I didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize. I deserved it. I've been the greatest president, the most peaceful president. That's next.
I love that. I really do. Anyway, you're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News. Don't.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five, everybody. That was a feisty start. Please get in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the Five, and they are already coming in thick and fast, I promise. And thank you for your messages so far. I will read some out just now. But right now, it's time for our next debate. Alex.
It's me. Well, look, it's been an interesting year since Donald Trump. It's not even been a year, has it? He came into office in January.
January.
So Donald Trump has been the most peaceful president, at least of my lifetime, and I'm wondering why he's been snubbed. And I cast my mind back to Barack Obama, who was given a Nobel Peace Prize before he even started in office, and then went on to drone bomb most of the world. Now, let's have a look at Trump's track record, because, of course, he's had no new wars, the first president to have no new wars in 40 years. He brokered the Abraham Accords, bringing together Bahrain, UAE, Israel and others to some peace in the Middle East. He's also taken on Kim Jong-un, face on, literally the first president to walk into the demilitarized zone of parts of North Korea. This is a man who's done more than anybody to deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. He even tried to get Vladimir Putin to the table. That's more than Joe Biden could even achieve, and that's even when he was awake, which he wasn't for half of his presidency. I think with this historic Gaza ceasefire, the first of it, it's been achieved for many years. Again, Joe Biden, his predecessor, couldn't do it. It is about time we give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize, and all those lefties who just can't stand the idea of it because it's Donald Trump, well, I think we should put them to shame and give the man the Peace Prize.
I'm going to disagree with you. It's not that I don't think he deserves the Peace Prize, and I think he probably will, but I think those are the words, because he only came into office in January. They started the nominations for this in January. I just think it's timing. And I think if this holds in Gaza and peace in the Middle East is re-established, I think if he doesn't get it next January, well, the nomination, and then awarded it next year, that will be the travesty.
How come Barack Obama got it?
Well, he was black.
No, I don't think so. I think he got it because he got it before he actually got into real power.
Yes, so that is exactly the question. Why did he get it?
Had he got it after they'd gone into Libya and the rest of it, that would be a bit...
No, but that's the question. Stop and think. Why do you get it if you haven't done anything?
Yeah. Well, we're not talking about that. That was years ago. I mean, look, this, Alex, this is thin gruel, really. It's actually hard to keep track of the conflicts that Trump alleges to have solved, so I've done a bit of your homework for you. Egypt versus Ethiopia, not a war, not current war. Serbia versus Kosovo. Well, they were, I think, pretty unaware that they were at war. Russia versus Ukraine obviously hasn't solved that one. Israel, Gaza, we pray that that will. India and Pakistan, I think Modi was quite angry, actually, that he claimed all the credit for solving the skirmishes they had on the border. Rwanda, the DRC, still happening. Azerbaijan and Armenia. The list goes on. Trump has solved nothing, and what's worse is the president of peace makes war at home, sending the National Guard into Chicago and Portland. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah, I'm glad that Kai has just diverted from what we're talking about, because it proves my point, and that is that there's been a very large dog that hasn't barked here, ladies and gentlemen, and that is this plan gives the left, gives the protesters, gives the Palestinians everything they could possibly want. A route to statehood, huge investment, the Arab countries behind it. This is about as good a peace plan as you could possibly hope for with the hostages coming back. And where's all the support? Where are the Kais of this world saying, you know what, I don't like the guy, but this is a really impressive element. No, I'm speaking. This is a really impressive element of statecraft. And it goes to show one thing, Alex, and that is, for too many of these people, this has not been about Palestinian statehood. This has been about the eradication of Israel and the eradication of Jews. It is that simple.
You're absolutely right, and I've got lots of footage to show the audience later on. I was there again today, and you're not going to believe some of the stuff. Honestly, though, hit over the head with by one of the lovely lefties, the Be Kind lefties over there. I'll tell you more about that later. But let me tell you, Donald Trump has done more to create peace in this planet than any American president for decades. And the reason why you don't like it, Kai, is because it goes against everything that the Trump derangement syndrome problem that the left has got, which is anything Trump does is bad because you just simply don't like him. Because guess what? The rhetoric that's come out of the left, and the fact that the man there's an attempted assassination against him twice, says everything. He could cure cancer, and they would still find a way to say that Trump has got a problem.
They'd start injecting themselves with cancer in opposition.
This is the real Trump derangement syndrome.
There is a little bit of Kai that I do get. I'm not sure it would send the right impression to give it to Donald Trump. Why? You look at what Ice-Even is doing in America. Rounding people up. I'm not like these lefties who I'm absolutely against Trump. I like the fact he's doing something.
How can we justify Barack Obama?
We can't.
We can't. That's the problem, isn't it?
I'm not going to say that because he actually went, him and Hillary went and they blew up my wife's country, and nobody answered for that. It is a double standard. There is a double standard, and you can't disagree with that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. That was 20 years ago, mate.
So what? What does it matter? It was 20 years ago. Why did Barack Obama get one? Why did Barack Obama get a Nobel Peace Prize and not Donald Trump?
I think he should have. But we're not.
Why?
Why? I don't know. I couldn't give less
It's
of a
as simple as this. The answer is because...
I'm going to come back. He got it because he was a Democrat and he was a black man, and apparently that was fantastic.
Take that up with the Nobel Peace Prize
not the Nobel Peace Prize. Kai, you always say to us, you can't continually disagree in the face of goodness just because you're on the right, but you are not doing the same.
And by the way, can I just say, by the way, it is for the exact same reason that there is no chance in hell that he will get the Nobel Peace Prize, because it is just another globalist, ideologically captured institution. There is a 0% chance they give it to him.
I just want to say one more thing.
Kai, I think you're a total loser.
What a shame.
I think it will be very interesting next year, and I think there could be real trouble if they don't give it to him, because he has, and that Azerbaijan that you quoted, he has sorted that situation out, Kai. So your reason worked.
I didn't get to that one. There's such a long list of alleged solved wars. Can I just say this? Because, yes, obviously, achieving the ceasefire is great news. We've had ceasefire.
Oh, thank you. It took 5 minutes.
No, but I didn't really get the chance to get around to that, Will.
No, you were talking about irrelevant stuff.
But look, there's been ceasefires before. It is obviously a great achievement if it holds.
True.
If it holds. That's true. Before.
Okay.
True.
And we've been here with other presidents before.
I have no doubt
True.
we will come back to it, Kai, in the next week.
Oh, we will.
But in the meantime, still to come tonight, Will, what have you got for us?
Yes, don't adjust your sets, ladies and gentlemen. Only after about a month on this show, when I said the Conservatives are finished, they may just have a flicker of a pulse.
Oh dear, madness has struck tonight. You're with Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Alice continues to bring heavy thundery rain to eastern parts of Spain, including the Balearics. Some places could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, and these totals will continue to build up for a little while yet. Eventually it is going to ease and clear away, and actually elsewhere there's a lot of fine sunny weather across much of southern Europe as we go through Sunday and into the beginning of next week. Owens in the sunshine, feeling pretty warm. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry weather continues for most of us through the course of this weekend. There will be some fog around overnight tonight, but as we go through Sunday, the sunshine will break through once again. And high pressure is really dominating the UK's weather through the next few days, centred slap bang across the middle of the UK, so bringing light winds and dry weather for many. Northern Scotland, though, will see a bit of light rain and drizzle through the course of this evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning, but otherwise a mixture of cloud and clear spells, Where the clear skies do persist for any length of time, we'll see temperatures drop down into low single figures perhaps in rural spots, but there'll also be some mist and fog developing. We think most likely in parts of England and Wales, but southern Scotland could also see some fog patches by the end of the night as well. In the south of the UK, it's perhaps more likely to be a mixture of mist and low clouds, so a murky start to the day for many. Some sunshine though for West Wales and northern England, although there will be some fog around here, particularly in the Vale of York. Cloudy skies for Northern Ireland and certainly across northern Scotland. Still quite gloomy conditions here. Areas of low cloud and mist around across the hills and around the coast as well, with some bits and pieces of light rain and drizzle perhaps still possible. Through the day though, I am expecting that cloud in the south and the fog to lift. So generally by the afternoon, a brighter story for many of us. Some sunshine for many too. Generally tending to hold on to a bit more in the way of cloud, probably for Northern Ireland and certainly across northern Scotland, still a bit gloomy here with some bits and pieces of rain. Temperatures though in the best of the sunshine, 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, so feeling pleasant for October. More in the way of cloud, generally speaking, across England and Wales by Monday. That cloud potentially thick enough to give the odd spit or spot of light rain or drizzle in the breeze, but most places staying dry. Plenty of sunshine for Scotland and perhaps northern England, but generally through the week ahead we are expecting to see quite a bit of cloud for most of us and temperatures around the seasonal normal, but slightly below in places.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. It's a surprise.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Please do remember to get in touch. I've got loads to read out later, but it's at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the 5 and put Ask the 5 before it. But thank you for your messages so far. There's just a couple I want to read out now. One in particular that says Alex.
I knew this was coming.
This is from Just the Legend. You're my favourite GB News presenter, so I mean this with kindness, but you need to grow the stubble back, mate. You look about 12.
I know. I know. OK, look, it was an incident I had with my beard clipper. It shouldn't have happened. But it's either I shaved it all off or I came on air with a rectangle missing on my face.
Mate, after the show, we can go backstage and I can teach you how to shave.
It's not teaching me how to shave, that's the problem. It's the growing back that takes time, all right? It's coming back, I promise.
So, with that revelation on air, now it's time for our next debate. Will.
Yeah, someone who actually does look ruggedly masculine. Ladies and gentlemen, I've done this show for a while now, and it's a long time. I feel like I know you guys, so I feel I need to present a couple of caveats before I praise Kemi Badenoch and the Conservative Party. I know they betrayed the country. I know it is almost impossible to trust anything they say ever again. I know some of their measures, from the Boris wave to net zero, were some of the biggest catastrophes in the history of the United Kingdom. I completely understand that you can never trust another word that comes out of their mouths. I get all of that, and I've said variations of it on this show before. That being said, credit where it is due, Kemi Badenoch's speech at the Conservative Party conference this week was the best speech delivered by a Conservative politician in the last decade. And it was the best speech delivered by a Conservative politician in the last decade because she actually said Conservative things. Funny that. Conservative things like this.
Stand for a government that takes less of your money and doesn't interfere in your life, where the state does less but does it better, where those who create wealth are welcomed with open arms, not driven from our shores, where reward matches effort, where Britain stands tall in the world. I stand for a society where free speech trumps hurt feelings, where everyone knows what a woman is, where people are judged by the content of their character, not the colour of their skin, where the vulnerable are supported, but where freeloaders are told where to get off.
Don't get me wrong, I think she's been ineffectual in the first 12 months, which is why I was so surprised at how good that speech was. In addition to trying to neutralise reform strengths around immigration, getting rid of net zero and crime, which I think they will now do, what they're trying to say is, right, but we will sort the economy out. Again, I can hear you all saying from the TV, you were the guys that stuffed it up. I get it. But what we did here was, they are now committed to reducing taxes. The stamp duty policy is genius. They are committed to reducing spending, and they put forward a costed number of $47 billion in tax cuts. And that, two things put together, equals that magic word, growth. And this is the first time I've heard from a UK politician an actual tangible plan for growth, other than just silly lines like, well, we're going for growth, and then asking regulators for tips on how you go about doing that. I know we will struggle to trust the Conservatives, but at the very least what we heard from Kay Badenoch, and if someone can take it on, is a sensible plan to get this economy back on track.
Oh dear, oh dear.
My caveats obviously didn't work.
That's right. It's like, oh, I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to praise them, but I'm not going to praise them too much. Get off the fence, Will.
I'm not Trey. That wasn't...
You are going to sit on the fence. Right, hang on a second, because you called me out if I didn't see it. Now, listen. One speech, to me, cannot save the Conservative Party.
I did not say that.
No, but that's what we're hinting at. I think there's a bit of life. OK, one speech is not going to save the mess that they created. And don't get me wrong, I was a massive advocate for Boris Johnson. I was one of those people that supported that government at its lowest points. However, I have to look back and say, can I trust a word they said? Every time I voted for them to get immigration down to the tens of thousands, they failed. Every time they promised me they're going to cut my taxes, they put them up. And I don't buy the snake oil anymore. I don't buy it from a party full of lefties that are going to do a Conservative manifesto.
Red meat for the audience, I get it. Well done. But even if you can't trust them...
It's not red meat, it's just a fact.
I agree with you, mate. I agree. But even if, for example, the end outcome is that they manage to push reform towards a more sensible, low-tax, low-spend position, that's also a great result for this country and a great result for conservatism.
But what I will say is that they want to go back to Thatcherism, and Thatcherism no longer works, OK?
I disagree.
Well, Thatcherism is globalisation, right? And
no, it's not.
Yes, it is. It is selling off all of... We need to nationalise some industries. We need to nationalise our steel. We need to nationalise our water companies and bring things back into control of Britain, because we have massively failed. We can't produce anything in this country because of Thatcherism. It worked at the time. It no longer works.
You're conflating two things. There's and I think there are some arguments for nationalising natural monopolies, but what really Thatcher was about was economic and fiscal responsibility, and that's what they were trying to get at.
And I don't want the state to own too much, but there is a limit.
Let's just hear from Kai or Trey.
They woke me up. Yeah, no, thanks for taking the debate away. I mean, no, these are mealy-mouthed words from a sitting duck leader, aren't they? I mean, yes, that's sort of the problem with the sugar rush high of politics these days is we see party conferences and it boosts a party up. Same thing happened with Labour. The mood is so much better at the end of that conference, and it's a state of execution at best. It's a week or so, and then the fundamentals remain. And the fundamentals of the Tories' trashed economic policy, with what the country think of them, as well as the fact that the party is still the same party.
I agree with all that.
Nothing has changed.
I agree with all that.
Good, but that is all it was.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Got echo there,
On that note, I knew Trey was going to echo you anyway.
Not fully, though. Wish I'd had my bit, but...
But, Kai, what have you got for us?
Well, I'm going to be telling you about how reform are unfit to govern. And it's from an exclusive, actually, from the Times yesterday, from Max Kendricks, that reveals that 8 reform councils are going to be raising council tax next year because their cost-cutting drive has completely failed. Yes, Durham, Warwickshire, Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Staffordshire, Lancashire, Lincolnshire, Kent. Oh, and breathe. Why? Mostly because of the rising costs of adult and children's social care, which is 2/3 of budgets. Now, I get it, and I sympathise a little bit with the reform councillors. I get that the difficulties run deep, but they mirror the difficulties that the UK government has, frankly. You look at the spending that the UK government makes, 10% of spending goes on adult social care, 8% is net debt interest. So here's the thing, promising simple solutions to actually, it turns out, complicated problems is dangerous and erodes trust in politics. We see it with the eco-populist Greens, and of course we see it with reform. So don't trust everything they sell you. Reform is not fit to govern this country.
You make a very interesting point, because when I read this story, I thought, that is exactly what reform does not need, because people are going to be looking at these councils as the template for government. And reform need to be able to cut costs or not put council tax up. I would say we're a long way from the point where they're going to decide their council tax bill, so let's see what they can do. But I do think you make a valid point, which is very rare.
Yeah, and look, the problem that councils have is more difficult and complicated than this sort of Javier Milei style, Elon Musk style, oh, let's take a chainsaw to public spending narrative that we've been sold, and the reform sells, because that doesn't work.
Hang on, listen, I actually spoke to the leader of that council here on GB News, and that council, you're just talking about Kent Council, right?
Kent, sure.
Yeah.
71% on adult.
This is a leaked conversation that was had on the off chance between two of their cabinet members that the press managed to hear. It's not a policy. They haven't actually said they're going to raise council tax. In fact, she refuted it profusely. Now, the problem that we've got with councils is that they are legally obliged to spend money on social care, and therefore those costs are constantly going up. Now, that's when a government needs to step in and go, how do we tackle this? It's not reform's fault. They are slashing waste, and if you hear how much waste is slashed, you'd be happy as a council taxpayer that it maybe if it is a rise, it's a 0.1% rise rather than a 5% rise like the Labour councils up and down the country.
They are hamstrung by the system in which they work, which is dictated by the government. Now, what I will say is Kai is actually emblematic of this sentiment on the left, which is this defeatism. I loved a tweet that came out this week from the El Salvadorian president, and he said, you can just do things. And it was in response to crime rates which went down from, I think, 100 in 100,000 people were murdered in El Salvador to 1 in 100,000 people. And Trey, let me just round that out by saying we hear so much on the Labor, oh, it's too hard to get out of the ECHR. Oh, you can't stop the boats. Oh, there are too many people who are getting old, so we're not going to change the pension system. You can just do things. It requires political will. I think Labor and the Kais of this world don't get that.
I think Kai's hit something, though. I do think that there is a difference between being in some level of opposition and actually being in power, and I think that's what we're going to find. I think reform in terms of their whole fiscal policy, they haven't really looked at how these things are costing and the impact it's going to have on people.
Do you know, Labour,
that's my concern.
They have 3.5 years.
10-15% poorer having come out of Brexit. So God knows.
No.
What's going to happen?
Labour came into power without a single policy being discussed.
Yeah.
They literally came into power saying, don't say anything because people can then trip us up. We'll just get in because they hate the Tories so much. So you're not right, and there's a long way to go before the next election. But I'm going to break now, but before I do, what have you got coming up, Trey?
So I've got coming up about the recent comments by Jenrick about Birmingham and the composition of the people there, and I think that division is not a pathway to real change.
So, you heard it here. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Saturday 5. Please get in contact with us at gbnews.com/yoursay, because, as you know, we read out more comments than any other show, in fact. Get your questions in for Ask the Five. Thank you for your messages so far. Just a quick one here, Will.
Yeah.
This is from Anne-Marie. Oh, Will. The Conservatives, they had 14 years, never carried out what they were elected to do, and I thought you were the brainy one.
Well, you got
Who said he was the brainy one?
In fairness,
good-looking brainy one.
I knew it was coming. I made that pretty clear that I knew it was coming.
Anyway, now it's time for our next debate, and that only leaves you, Trey.
And speaking of the Conservatives, so you know Robert Jenrick, when he was in Birmingham for 90 minutes, said he didn't see another white face. And it showed the problem with integration. But honestly, how can you tell how integrated a place is just by looking at someone's skin colour? I mean, what if one of those faces was Kemi Badenoch? Is she not integrated into British culture, into British society? Integration isn't something you see, it's something you feel. It's about how people live, how people work and contribute together. And what really worries me isn't Birmingham's diversity, it's this growing race amongst politicians to sound tougher and to get further and further and further towards the right. Now, I'm not one of these lefties who believe that what he said was racist. I think the whole word racist is starting to lose its power when people throw that about. But I think it was an opportunistic comment that is meant to obviously appeal to all of these reform voters and, of course, a lot of people in the Tory party who are thinking of defecting. But I'll say this and I'll say this again. Division is not the pathway to real change.
What wishy-washy nonsense.
Here we go.
What wishy-washy, disingenuous nonsense.
There isn't.
Now look, stop for a second. You know, you can give me the Kemi Badenoch example, sure, fine, but we all know that if you go into parts of this country and you look, you can see the problems regarding integration. It is as plain as the nose on your face. And he was pointing out a statement of fact. The country has become a series of culturally and ethnically divided ghettos. Many of those ghettos are governed by the cultural norms of the countries from which those people came, and those values are not compatible with the United Kingdom.
Let me give you one example. Right? I'm from Notting Hill, and the same thing happened, right? So a lot of people have different. I mean, you had Jews that came there first, and then you had the Irish, then you had the Western, you had people, then what actually happened was an actual white flight. It wasn't that people had just come in and we're going to all be in the same neighbourhood. There was an actual white flight that happens and people tend to congregate. But if it was someone like me and Kemi and lots of other black people who are very patriotic, and I would fight and die for this country right on this very moment, and I'd carry all of you on my backs, am I somehow not integrated because there are other people with my skin colour living in the neighbourhood?
If you want to compare the migration to Notting Hill in the 50s and 60s to what's going on in Birmingham and Leicester and Rotherham and Rochdale at the moment, that is absolutely ridiculous. And Trey, I even think you know that's
been
ridiculous.
to that part of Birmingham?
I have, yes.
Muslim,
I have.
think it. There are lots of black people in that
I
neighbourhood.
have been, as I often talk about, to Whitechapel. In fact, I spent 6 years there training as a doctor, and it's a ghetto. It's a ghetto where you very rarely see a white face if you cross out of the hospital.
What constitutes a ghetto? Just because it's full of people of colour? What is a ghetto?
Full of people carrying out their own cultural practices with their own street names written in their language, with schools that have no English on the...
Is Stamford Hill a ghetto?
Well, in a way, yes.
So you're not allowed to be someone that goes about your own business, practicing your own cultural stuff that doesn't actually impact anyone.
In Nigeria, and I didn't see any black people. Would that be unusual?
It would be okay. There's lots of Lebanese.
It'd be unusual.
No, it wouldn't. It's not about whether it's unusual. Is it a bad thing? Right, listen, there are Lebanese communities in Nigeria. A lot of them are 10 times more Nigerian than myself. There are white people in South Africa, way more African than I am, just because I'm black. They would know way more about black culture, probably, than I would from their own point of view. You can't just go into an area because people look a certain way and then assume that they're not assimilated or they're not integrated. I'm very integrated.
I think what it is, particularly over the last few years, there's been such a high level of migration, particularly from South Asia. I think that's been where the most of our mass immigration has come from. Is that, as you correctly said, these people congregate. They come together in the same groups. When British people do this in Spain, right? I don't think it's acceptable. I think it's terrible that British people just go and form.
Would you call it?
But the cultures are more aligned.
Because that's true. What it is that that's a failure of assimilation that's happening then. It's perpetuated by generations of people because there is no way for them to assimilate with British people. I would say, you know, many people would argue your point of view, but I just don't think we have got to the point now where we can just ignore it anymore, and I think we do have to call it what it is.
True, and like I say, remember, I'm someone that stands bang in the middle, but you can't just look at someone and assume they're not integrated. That's one of the issues, and I get it, and I get why he says it. That's why I don't do this whole, oh, he's been racist. No, there are lots of people who look at certain labels and they don't feel like they're welcome.
I might just say one more thing and I'll be quiet, but he wasn't saying this publicly. This was leaked.
I know,
It was just a private thought he had. He wasn't standing on the podium making
also,
statements.
Nothing wrong with his thought, by the way. I'm not the sort of person that polices.
But also, he's not just talking about skin colour. He's saying that when you go into particular areas... Yeah, but he's also saying that when you go into areas and you have foreign languages on shops... He
specifically mentioned race.
OK, number one, people are done with the race card trade. No one cares anymore. Number two, he's talking about cultural areas where everything from the languages that are used to the practices that are adopted, it is obvious that it is a different cultural practice to mainstream, traditional United Kingdom values.
Let's hear Kai's view on this. We haven't had a true lefty. We've got one that's halfway there.
Well, and also, Trey loves to portray himself as different to me, but actually, I think what he said is a load of rubbish.
Wow.
Look at what Robert Jenrick said. He said himself, what you've just said is not about the colour of your skin or your faith or your, you know, it's about people living alongside each other, not in parallel communities. And we see that in Birmingham, we see that across the country, and people aren't racist to call it out. The fact that in parts of this community, right, 55% in one neighbourhood identify as exclusively non-British, and that a fifth can't speak English well, that can be a problem. And it's not right-wing to say that. And it's divisive.
Too right.
I do agree with that point. You talked a lot. You talk divisiveness, but to take comments out of context and not to give them the full, what is actually fair play. He made a good point here. to take comments out of context in this way and to portray it as racist as some
No, wait.
as you
Guys.
That's what's divisive.
I don't call it racist. I keep saying
that's
that.
what I just said. That's what I just said.
But this is what you're doing, and it's a leftive ploy. I've not called it racist. I actually like the fact he said it. I'm just saying there are lots of people who are of different colours who absolutely do integrate. And they are very British. And you can't just look at people and assume they are a certain
He said
way.
exactly that.
That's all I'm saying.
He agrees.
Now, the reason why I said lefties is because a lot of lefties run with it. See, there you go, it's racist. And that's part of the reason that drives people to the right. In the same way, all of these people flying flags, most of them are not racist. They just love their country. But it's lefties who fan it and make it into a bigger thing. I'm just saying you can't assume what people's integration is based on what they look like.
Goodness me, there's loads more to come on the show tonight, guys, like me getting in control, including the Saturday Scrap. We're going to reveal what debate has come out in top in the poll shortly. And the fantastic Anne Widdecombe is going to be joining us to discuss the graffiti art installation at Canterbury Cathedral that has ruffled many feathers, including JD Vance and Elon Musk. We've got so much more to see. We'll be talking to Meg, who's going to predict things with asparagus. Fresh tantrums. See you soon. Don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry weather continues for most of us through the course of this weekend. There will be some fog around overnight tonight, but as we go through Sunday, the sunshine will break through once again. And high pressure is really dominating the UK's weather through the next few days, centred slap bang across the middle of the UK, so bringing light winds and dry weather for many. Northern Scotland, though, will see a bit of light rain and drizzle through the course of this evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning, but otherwise a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Where the clear skies do persist for any length of time, we'll see temperatures drop down into low single figures, perhaps in rural spots. But there'll also be some mist and fog developing. We think most likely in parts of England and Wales, but southern Scotland could also see some fog patches by the end of the night as well. In the south of the UK, it's perhaps more likely to be a mixture of mist and low clouds, so a murky start to the day for many. Some sunshine, though, for West Wales and northern England, although there will be some fog around here, particularly in the Vale of York. Cloudy skies for Northern Ireland and certainly across northern Scotland. Still quite gloomy conditions here. Areas of low cloud and mist around across the hills and around the coast as well, with some bits and pieces of light rain and drizzle perhaps still possible. Through the day, though, I am expecting that cloud in the south and the fog to lift. So, generally, by the afternoon, a brighter story for many of us. Some sunshine for many too. Generally tending to hold on to a bit more in the way of cloud, probably for Northern Ireland, and certainly across northern Scotland, still a bit gloomy here with some bits and pieces of rain. Temperatures, though, in the best of the sunshine, 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, so feeling pleasant for October. More in the way of cloud, generally speaking, across England and Wales by Monday. That cloud potentially thick enough to give the odd spit or spot of light rain or drizzle in the breeze, but most places staying dry. Plenty of sunshine for Scotland and perhaps northern England, but generally through the week ahead we are expecting to see quite a bit of cloud for most of us, and temperatures around the seasonal normal but slightly below in places.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I am, as you know, Dr. Renee, along with Will Kingston, Alex Armstrong, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
Canterbury clergy have graffitied their own cathedral. It's disgusting.
why are vegan tampons appearing in men's bathrooms?
So, hello, you've got your sign again. I found you again. Just show the camera, please. Show our viewers back in Bristol. What does it say?
It says that Mohammed was a proud trans woman.
Why are they nuts? They're nuts everywhere. They seem to be more nuts in America than they are here.
We want your questions on any topic in Answer 5.
And what on earth is going on here?
No, not that. The guarantee was that would not be taking place.
So unnecessary.
So it's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, everyone. Stay with us for the biggest debates, hottest topics and entertaining interviews. And, of course, we do want to know your views as well, so send them in by posting your comments at gbnews.com/yoursay. But before we start tearing each other apart again, it's been feisty already, it's your Saturday Night News with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed. 7:minutes here in the GB newsroom. Our top story, former Lost Prophets singer Ian Watkins has died after being attacked in prison. The paedophile rock star was serving a 29-year sentence for child sex offences. He was attacked with a knife at Wakefield Prison in Yorkshire this morning. Emergency services were called, but Watkins was pronounced dead at the scene. A small number of people have been arrested at a pro-Palestinian demonstration in London to mark 2 years of the war in Gaza. Police say it followed a scuffle between several individuals after a group of counter-protesters from Stop the Hate breached conditions set in place to keep the two demonstrations apart, as you can see this near Waterloo Bridge earlier today. Tens of thousands of people joined the march to Parliament Square earlier. The protest going ahead despite the ceasefire in Gaza coming into effect yesterday. Protesters, though, insist the marches will continue until a free Palestine is achieved. Rescue teams in Gaza have begun recovering bodies from ruined buildings after Israeli troops withdrew from some areas of Gaza under the ceasefire deal. Tens of thousands of people have begun travelling back to their homes in the north of the territory. The fragile agreement between Hamas and Israel continues to hold, although a Hamas official has told the AFP news agency that any disarmament of the group as part of Donald Trump's Gaza plan is out of the question. Humanitarian aid has begun to enter Gaza although aid agencies have expressed frustration that deliveries have yet to begin at scale, with hundreds of lorries still waiting at the Rafah border crossing. The UN declared a famine in the territory in August. Live pictures now from Tel Aviv, where crowds have gathered in Hostages Square in anticipation of all Israeli captives being released. Hamas has 72 hours, which expires on Monday, to do so, after which Israel will release Palestinian prisoners. And Israel has begun transferring some of those prisoners to 2 jails ahead of that release. Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy, has been speaking at that rally in Parliament Square. We'll bring that a little bit later to you here on GB News. No survivors are expected to be found after a major explosion at a munitions factory in the US state of Tennessee yesterday. 18 people remain unaccounted for. Authorities say they are still searching, but do not expect to find survivors. It is still unclear what caused the blast at the plant in Bucksnort, southwest of Nashville. The facility specialises in the development and manufacture of explosives. Former US President Joe Biden's receiving radiation therapy for prostate cancer, which was diagnosed earlier this year. His spokesman says the treatment's expected to last 5 weeks and marks a new point in his care, adding the 82-year-old is doing well. The former president was diagnosed in May with an aggressive form of the disease, which had spread to his bones. Finally, if you are planning to travel to Europe from tomorrow, the advice is leave early and prepare for delays, as new biometric border checks will be in place. Visitors arriving in any of the Schengen area 29 countries will have faces and fingerprints scanned under the new entry-exit system, as the EU dispenses with passport stamps in favour of a digital system. Authorities hope, despite initial delays, it should eventually offer a streamlined process. But travel journalist Simon Calder says the first time you enter the zone may be frustrating.
You get in, you land, you then have to register your biometrics, fingerprints and face, and that gets tallied to your identity from your passport. And then that's just the start. You then go through the same old analog palaver where somebody comes along, has a look at your passport, checks you haven't spent too long there, gives you a stamp, and off you go. And that's exactly why we're getting warnings from the travel industry that it could actually hold you up for 4 hours, which would take the edge off the start of your holiday.
And if you're on holiday from tomorrow, good luck with the travel palaver. That's it for the moment. I'll be back with more at 8.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Dr. Renee and I can promise you that you're in for yet another very lively hour. It's been quite hot up to now. Literally, it's quite hot in the studio. Now, you've all been voting for what you want us to debate in the Saturday Scrap, and the results are in. 10% of you voted for should drugs be legalised. Sensible people. 9% want us to debate second homes, which means a massive 81% of you voted for us to debate should China be declared an enemy. So let's get into the main event. Former National Security Advisor Lord Sedwell says Beijing poses a direct threat through cyber attacks and espionage, and much more, I would say. His comments come after a major spy trial collapsed because the government refused to formally label China a threat. Now pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Keir Starmer to explain how and why the case fell apart. So is Britain being cautiously diplomatic? Or is it time to declare China an enemy? So seconds out, it is round 1.
Thank you, Renee. And ladies and gentlemen, I may be getting a bit soft in my old age because I actually have some sympathy for Kai. Being the lefty on this show means that you often have to defend some of the worst people in the entire world. But at the same time, that's the deranged worldview that he has chosen. So I guess let's get stuck in. Make no mistake, the Chinese government and Chinese regime are some of the worst people in the entire world. They are a murderous, genocidal, dictatorial regime who oppress their people, take away their civil liberties, and will have no problem killing political enemies so long as they can maintain a one-party state. And the only reason you don't hear politicians in the West saying that is pure cowardice, because we make money out of them. But it needs to be said. And at least as a starting point, we can raise the bleeding obvious by saying that they are an enemy, for a few reasons. Number one, it might mean that the UK will wake up. We are not focused. We are looking at Russia. We are looking at the Middle East. They are not the big geopolitical challenges for the United Kingdom. The single biggest geopolitical threat is China. And if and when they make a play on Taiwan, that will have far bigger implications, both militarily and economically, than anything that's happened in Russia or anything that's happened in the Middle East. And that leads to the second point, which is hopefully it will spur economic reform if, and I think it is likely, that at some point before the decade is out, China makes a play at Taiwan, whether that's boots on the ground or some sort of blockade. What will happen? What do you think will happen with global trade, which at the moment is so intensely interconnected with China? That tap turns off. It will be chaos. What this means now is we need to think about how we diversify our trading relationships away from China. I think the US is doing this quite well. I don't think the UK is doing it nearly as well. But the third and most important point is why we should call them an enemy of the United Kingdom. Because it's the right thing to do. They certainly think of us as their enemy. They are an enemy because they don't share our values. They're an enemy because they are morally abhorrent. And again, I will say the Chinese government, not the Chinese people. They are morally abhorrent and they deserve to be called an enemy, and nothing less should suffice.
Look, Will, this, actually, your argument reeks of the same types of gesture politics and lack of political realism that I'm often accused of indulging in. Look, you're right. China's economy and China's culture and ours are now so deeply intertwined that we're in a bit of a tricky situation. Calling China an enemy solves nothing, solves none of the things that you just set out. Government after government, yes, have got us increasingly closer to China when it seemed like maybe they would end up a bit like Singapore, this sort of benign, semi-Western country, when in fact what's happened is quite different. And over time, what that's meant is that many of our universities have been allowed to have double-figure percentages of Chinese students come in to boost the coffers of those universities. Huawei building our 5G, the part of the net zero infrastructure, and even part of Hinkley Point, our nuclear energy supply. But that's political reality. That is where we are. You call China an enemy of Britain, an enemy of the British state, and it's not going to be like what you see in the United States, where they can go toe-to-toe with China as the largest economy in the world. Not Britain. Not Britain. That is not how it will roll if you call out China as an enemy. This is bad diplomacy, it's stupid gesture politics, and you know it, Will.
There's that lefty defeatism again. Let's just let them build our telecommunications networks. Let's just let them dictate our economy. Let's just let them do all this stuff. In the words of the El Salvadorian president, Kai, we can just do things. Now, if we do call them an enemy, it will lead to a focus which says we cannot be doing that sort of stuff. We cannot be letting them infiltrate our infrastructure. We need to make sure that we are militarily prepared, because at the moment we are not. And the only question I would ask you in response to all of that is, if we were to call them an enemy, what do you think would happen? I suspect they would put some sort of sanctions on, some sort of trade issues, and you know what? We need to disentangle from them anyway, so I don't have a problem with that.
I'm going to interject here because I think everybody's itching to come in. I mean, this is a ridiculous approach. Oh, look, you know, if we call them an enemy, if we call them a nasty name, they'll be really mean to us. Well, you know what? What if we'd have taken that approach in World War II? What if we'd have said about, you know, the Nazis, the Germans, well, do you know what? They are pretty bad, but they're probably quite nice guys and we can probably negotiate better than fight them. Imagine. This is ridiculous, Kai, because actually we could go side by side with America. We could partner with America. We cannot continue to allow these people to infiltrate everything in our country that they can switch off. They have found switch-off switches in solar panels that they're supplying to us.
Exactly, Dr. Renee. Gesture politics without action. We can do all these actions, right? We can do all these things. We can start to disentangle our supply chains. We can look at where exactly that Chinese state infiltration has happened. We can do that without taking this ridiculous diplomatic step of calling them out as an enemy and risk our economy going even further down the pan that it already has.
Alex?
Yeah, I want to be clear about something. China is, without a doubt, the biggest threat to the United Kingdom and the West of any country around the world. This whole Russia drumbeat is nothing compared to the power of the Communist Party in China. They are ruthless. They have plans that well outlive any politician in our country. They have 50, 100-year plans. And until we get to the reality that they are going to be the ones we are fighting the next war against, I agree. We are going to be weaker as a result. And you say branding them an enemy solves nothing. Well, I tell you what it does do. First of all, we'll have a spy trial that doesn't get completely bankrupted by corrupt politicians and people trying to avoid saying the stark reality of the truth. And it will also put us on a footing where we can prepare ourselves for the inevitable conflict that is coming with China. And unfortunately, any smart realist on foreign affairs will tell you the same thing. We've got to get tough now. The longer we sit on it, the more stupid we look.
And the same realist would probably say that just going out with this gesture does nothing.
Look, Kai, we cannot.
And you know that as well as I do.
I'm a realist, and I totally understand that. But we cannot allow a spy trial that has infiltrated and destroyed our national security and sovereignty to not go ahead because the government are too afraid to.
It is not a gesture because it will have very real implications for the amount of funding that we put towards certainly military activities, and it will also have very real implications for how we think about our economic strategy.
Have a very real implication for our economy and for the state.
But that's going to happen anyway in 3 years when they decide to take Taiwan. So let's actually sort it out now.
Can I say something? I think the trade between us is 90 billion. You know, we can partner with America all we want, but that's a massive hole that you're going to have to. You could say that, but the UK isn't this global superpower it used to be. Every time we're going to go over America, we don't know what kind of deal we're going to get. And then you mentioned the whole thing about one-party state. We do a lot of business with other one-party states. Another thing about Taiwan, we've in the West, we've done a lot of invading of countries. I think it's all about Western dominance, and that's the threat that China poses.
Well,
rubbish.
Do you know what? With Trey's attitude, which I think is quite prevalent, I wish that I could get away from here. And guess what? If you go into the next competition, you might be able to do that.
Wow.
It's time for the Great British Giveaway. So make sure you don't miss out on your chance to run away from people like Trey and Kai and become our biggest winner of the year with a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash to help you do it. So here's all the details you'll need for the chance to make that dream yours.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, I'm still trying to recover from Trey. Still to come tonight.
Last week, I felt so overwhelmed that I actually started wishing that I would take myself to A&E and say I'm mentally too unwell to deal with life.
She is. More sugar tantrums on the way, but first, Anne Widdecombe will be joining us to discuss the graffiti art installation at Canterbury Cathedral that has ruffled many feathers, including JD Vance, Elon Musk and me. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five, everybody. Please do carry on getting in contact at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the Five and mark it up that way. Thank you for your messages so far. Just having a look. I've got Johanna from Salisbury. Oh my God, tampons. Can't anybody see why tampons are put into men's toilets? It's easy. Men use them when playing sport to stop their nosebleeds. It's always a good reason for these things. Thank you for that, Johanna.
I was actually that kid who always got nosebleeds at school.
Did you use tampons?
No, I didn't actually. yeah.
You're a normal person, that's why.
Yeah. Well, I was still a little fatty just holding his... Miss, can I please go to the bathroom?
That's what he does during the break.
I've got an admission here. I used to be able to make my nose bleed or at will to get out of the lesson. I could just go like this, get out of the lesson.
I know the type. The weekends off.
Anyway, Canterbury Cathedral has been hit with more controversy, what's new, after graffiti-style slogans were placed on the ancient walls. US Vice President J.D. Vance slammed the installation on X, saying it had made a beautiful historic building really ugly. And I think I agree with him. But the Dean of Canterbury says it's all part of an official art installation by the Church of England to represent marginalised communities. In his latest stunt from an embattled Church of England, an example of modernity or sacrilege. Well, to discuss this, I'm really pleased to welcome Reform UK spokeswoman Anne Widdecombe. Hello, Anne, and thank you for coming on tonight. Look, I have watched the church, especially the Anglican Church, lose its audience over the years and often wondered why they don't just do the thing that they need to do and convince people that God is good, that the Bible is something interesting to come and see, and church is a place of safety. Why do they have to do things like this, or silent discos, or golf in a church to attract young people? It's not working, is it?
Well, it's certainly not working. I mean, the pews have been emptying steadily throughout my life in the Church of England. And I would make two comments about this. I mean, first of all, is Canterbury Cathedral the right place for this? I mean, I'm not saying there is no right place for this, but is Canterbury Cathedral the right place? Well, you might ask, can you see Jesus scrawling on the temple in Jerusalem? And I think the answer to that is no. You know, you have to respect that some buildings are set apart for dignity. But the second thing is this. As far as I can see from those graffiti, and OK, I'm not close up to them, but I see the questions, don't actually see the answers. And so, for example, is sin an illness? Well, the answer is no. Why did God create hate? Well, he didn't, the devil did. And it's the answers which attract people, not the questions.
That's really interesting, Anne. I mean, if you actually look at figures at the church recently, there's actually been a 56% increase overall of young people 18 to 24 going to church between now and 2019. But, interestingly, that hasn't been seen in the Anglican Church. It's the Catholic and Pentecostal churches that are seeing it. Are they just getting it totally wrong? And why are they getting it so wrong?
Well, what is wrong is obvious. They do not supply answers, as I've just said. And the evangelical wing, the Pentecostal churches, do. And if you've got a growing wing of the Church of England, it is the evangelical wing. And Catholicism is very clear in its teaching and says this is true, this is false, this is right, this is wrong. And I think young people who are looking for answers don't want woolliness for an answer, and that's what they get from the Anglicans. So I think the new Archbishop has got quite a challenge ahead, and this sort of exercise isn't going to cut the mustard.
Yeah, hi Anne. For the record, I think this is absolutely disgusting. I just need to get that off my chest for the audience. But to the question, this is part of a broader trend. We saw the Pope during the week bless a block of ice to try and deal with the climate crisis. It feels like the upper echelons of both the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church have been overtaken or captured by this progressive woke ideology. How has that happened?
Well, first of all, I don't think, and I genuinely don't think, though there were times when I wondered under Francis, but I don't think that the Catholic Church has been overtaken by wokery. I mean, it stands for some pretty unpopular teachings and sticks with them. Because as the encyclical that was issued by Pope John Paul made clear, something can be very popular, and very widely accepted, still be wrong, and something can be profoundly unpopular and offensive to people and still be right. And I think that is the crucial difference. Now, popes will sometimes participate in symbolic acts, if you like, but I don't really think you're going to see the Vatican covered in graffiti anytime soon.
And I'd like to ask you if you think that this could be the end of the... Oh, apologies to interrupt you there, Anna. I couldn't hear you speaking there. Yeah. I would like to ask you if you think this could be the end of the Church of England. We have a head of state who is also the head of the Church of England, who is not particularly too Christian. The next king, who will also be the head of the Church of England, is not religious at all. We have a Archbishop of woke, in my opinion, who seems more like a political appointment than a theologist. Is it just not this sign of this dilapidating institution now that seems crumbling at its edges?
Well, I think it is, but I think it's been going on for a long time, and I don't necessarily think that this is the end. Graffiti is not going to bring down the Church of England. But I think that it has been declining in authority for a very long time. And the King, to be fair, the King practices in the Church of England. He goes to church at Sandringham. Our big ceremonies of state are still Anglican. So I don't think it's going to die a death just yet, but I think it will go on declining, with the exception, as I say, of its evangelical Pentecostal wing.
I mean, it's really interesting, Anne, and I really thank you for coming on tonight and giving us your view. We shall see how this pans out and whether their numbers go up or down, obviously, in time to come.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Anne.
Thanks, Anne.
Thanks.
It's just I just feel like this is such a dying institution now that I don't know what they're going to do to convince people to come back at this point. This sort of stuff is pathetic. It's a pathetic attempt to get
but
young
the other churches seem to be doing it, so we shall see. But guys, still to come tonight.
No, not that. The guarantee was that would not be taking place.
We will reveal what's going on in there in this week's Triggered Tantrums. But next, does anyone want to have a guess where the National Trust placed a batch of vegan tampons? That's next in Bunch of Five. You're with the Saturday Five live on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Alice continues to bring heavy thundery rain to eastern parts of Spain, including the Balearics. Some places could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, and these totals will continue to build up for a little while yet. Eventually it is going to ease and clear away, and actually elsewhere there's a lot of fine sunny weather across much of southern Europe as we go through Sunday and into the beginning of next week. Always in the sunshine, feeling pretty warm. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry weather continues for most of us through the course of this weekend. There will be some fog around overnight tonight, but as we go through Sunday, the sunshine will break through once again. And high pressure is really dominating the UK's weather through the next few days, centred slap bang across the middle of the UK, so bringing light winds and dry weather for many. Northern Scotland, though, will see a bit of light rain and drizzle through the course of this evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning, but otherwise a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Where the clear skies do persist for any length of time, we'll see temperatures drop down into low single figures perhaps in rural spots, but there'll also be some mist and fog developing. We think most likely in parts of England and Wales, but southern Scotland could also see some fog patches by the end of the night as well. In the south of the UK, it's perhaps more likely to be a mixture of mist and low clouds, so a murky start to the day for many. Some sunshine though for West Wales and northern England, although there will be some fog around here, particularly in the Vale of York. Cloudy skies for Northern Ireland and certainly across northern Scotland. Still quite gloomy conditions here. Areas of low cloud and mist around across the hills and around the coast as well, with some bits and pieces of light rain and drizzle perhaps still possible. Through the day though, I am expecting that cloud in the south and the fog to lift. So generally by the afternoon, a brighter story for many of us. Some sunshine for many too. Generally tending to hold on to a bit more in the way of cloud, probably for Northern Ireland, and certainly across northern Scotland, still a bit gloomy here with some bits and pieces of rain. Temperatures though in the best of sunshine, 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, so feeling pleasant for October. More in the way of cloud, generally speaking, across England and Wales by Monday. That cloud potentially thick enough to give the odd spit or spot of light rain or drizzle in the breeze, but most places staying dry. Plenty of sunshine for Scotland and perhaps northern England, but generally through the week ahead we are expecting to see quite a bit of cloud for most of us, and temperatures around the seasonal normal but slightly below in places.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five, everybody. I think Kai has actually turned into a beaver during the break. He's making beaver noises. Please get in contact with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the Fives. Nothing is off limits, and thank you for all of your messages so far. I want to just read this one quickly from Kim Bolton, who says, he quotes your favourite, Will, she quotes Churchill, who said, "You can't negotiate with an alligator while you've got your head in his mouth."
It's true.
I think that's in reference to China.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll just very quickly
So
read
now
one.
it's time for this.
Oh, sorry. Go on. Get on with the job. Sorry. Get on with the job.
Sometimes that instinct is there just to grab those hosting reins back.
So, anyway, bunch of five next.
Yes,
Will,
I'll kick off. In June, Hamet Koskin was found guilty of a religiously aggravated public order offence for burning a Quran and yelling F Islam at the same time. He was then attacked by a man with a knife. He has recently won his appeal to have that overturned. It is a win for free speech. Now, as I'm sure everyone in the audience knows, we are entering very murky waters here in terms of both the discussion around Islam as well as with the laws as they are currently in the country. We need to be careful. I don't endorse burning a Quran. At the same time, we live in a Western liberal democracy, the greatest Western liberal democracy that the world has ever seen. You should be allowed to burn whatever book you want, and that goes to individual freedoms. This is a great result. Thank the Lord for the Free Speech Union who helped Hamid Koskin in this instance, and I hope that this leads to more reform around how we think about individual freedoms and civil liberties in this country and how they are curtailed by the Public Order Act.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. I'm going to say this. I think that we should be able to do what we want to, burn any books, but I don't think we should do it. I think we should just have the right. I think it's disrespectful. It's not the way to achieve things, and he could have stood outside that embassy with a sign and been just as powerful. So I don't endorse it, but I do absolutely defend his right to do it.
I just always think it's nuts that he was dragged through court for the act of doing what he did. I completely agree. I would never do it myself to any religious text. That's just my personal opinion. I would reserve the right for anyone to do it. But the fact that the bloke who attacked him got off so easily with a knife and all these things, I just find that absolutely nuts. I just think it shows you what our country's come to.
It is a microcosm of everything that's wrong in this country at the moment, where actual violence is seen as less dangerous than words.
So I'm going to cut that short. I'm sorry. Alex next, did you say? I think it's me.
No, it's you.
Oh, no, it's Alex.
Oh, it's me. All right. Well, are you prepared for another big economic meltdown? Because it seems to some economists that we are about to have a bubble burst in the stock market. We have been on an extraordinary run. For all of you at home that care about the economy, you care about the stock market, we could be heading for the almighty AI.com similar bubble crash, as obviously many investors are very scared that China seems very willing now to head over to Taiwan and all these other things. And I just don't think, with our current masters in charge of our economy, that we are in for a very good ride here in Britain. We could see another Great Depression in the UK at this point in time.
And to do that disclaimer at the end of every banking ad, ladies and gentlemen, that does not constitute financial advice.
It does not.
It doesn't, but I think you're probably right. I think we're probably a way away from it, actually. I think probably a year to 18 months, but I think you're absolutely right. And it's actually terrifying, because everything that we hold dear is tied up in that market.
Particularly when the people like the Chancellor might be forcing you to put your money in ISAs, which could be influenced by the stock market. I think it's worrying time for Brits.
The fastest growing line item on the national budget is interest on the national debt. You cannot keep using the credit card until it gets maxed out.
And gold is at an all-time high.
Yeah, it certainly
is. As is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So now...
No, Bitcoin crashed recently.
I had to give to the two men either side of me. Now it's my turn. There was a sign that went up in a National Trust estate toilet this week. It was a man's toilet. That's important. There it is. Saying, have you got a period situation going on? We got you. So for those men going into that loo, they can rest assured that not only can they get a tampon, but it's a vegan tampon. So just about every box that you can imagine is ticked. I think this just shows the madness that we have. It also flies in the face of the Supreme Court ruling that says that you have to use the toilet of your own biological sex. But I think what's really interesting about this is if you are such a good trans man that you look like a man and you go into a men's toilet and you put your coins into the machine and turn the handle, everybody then knows that you're actually not a man.
Do you know what I think, Renee? I'm just really upset that they are vegan. I don't mind the tampons, I just don't want the vegan ones.
What do you think, Kai? You must think this is disgusting.
I actually went to a gay vegan wedding recently, as some of you know.
What is a gay vegan What does that mean? What does that mean? A gay vegan wedding?
Well, it was vegan food
there we go.
and a gay wedding.
Oh my God.
I wasn't. But a friend of mine took a block of cheddar into the wedding, so we feasted on that instead.
You're doing a bit of time off the grog at the moment, and I imagine that must have driven you very close back to the booze.
It was tough. It was tough on the no secco. Who is this hurting, Dr. Olay? Who is this hurting? Vegan tampons in men's bathrooms? Who cares? Honestly, I don't know why we keep returning to these things. And it's certainly not what Nigel Farage should be focusing his time and effort on. If he wants to, Nigel Farage, if he wants to be the next Prime Minister, get a grip, stop talking about the National Trust, and actually try to find some policy solutions for what we've just talked about.
Institutions. He's exposing these institutions for what they are. They're pushing an ideology.
Do you know what? There are times, actually, when my wife sends me out to go and get her something, so maybe it's a convenience thing, but I think it's a...
to get their wives tampons and they go to the
there are times I'm out and she might ask me to pick something up. But I think it's a storm in a teacup a little bit like what you said. Yeah. It's such a non-issue. It's like not a threatening thing to anyone, really.
Do you just
doesn't bother me.
Do you not just think it shows the madness of what our country's sort of fallen in?
A little bit, and I think most people are more bothered by so much bigger stuff like the cost of living.
I'm sure, guys, you're desperate to hear Trey's Bunch 5.
So, my Bunch of 5 is the revelation that 2.5 million Brits, 2.5 million Brits are actually taking the weight loss jabs. Are we allowed to say the names of these jabs? I mean, I think everyone knows about Wegovy and Mounjaro, etc. And that is 1 in 20 adults is actually taking these jabs. As someone who was a former personal trainer, I'm thinking it might be putting some personal trainers out of business. But, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, these things are for diabetes, essentially, isn't it? So you do wonder what the long-term health implications are going to be of that many people taking these jabs, and probably
Everybody knows how I feel about these if they're given on the NHS. I think we should not be spending taxpayers' money for people that have got a BMI of 30, and trust me, that's mainly who are using these, to actually help them get to a BMI of 25. I do think there is an audience, and it's very small, of people who are so obese that their legs are ulcerated, they can't exercise, they've got all sorts of horrible conditions. That's fine, because they're not going to get it done. All I want to know about these silly people is that they've got full consent, they've been told what the side effects that we know are, they're prepared to take the risk on the ones that we don't, and they're using their own money.
Whatever side effects we've identified, the side effects of obesity are
not when you've got
10 times worse.
I just heard there was somebody I know, like a social media influencer, and she said, it's been great ever since I've been taking the jabs. I've stopped going to the gym. I don't need to go anymore.
That's the danger.
That's the kind of danger and the attitude that I think is very, very
well, I agree with that. I agree with that. It does need to be accompanied, obviously, by diet and lifestyle change.
Yeah, we live in a lazy attention economy.
Just before you go off for your jab, what have you got for us?
I was actually accused of using the jabs myself. No, that's just
vegan jab.
Just because of my natural good looks. My Bunch of 5 is that Trump and his allies have been cynically and dangerously using Charlie Kirk's killing to capitalise on attacks on liberal groups, attacking donors, Democrats, and talking about the left as the enemy within. It's page 1 of the authoritarian playbook, according to historians and legal experts. Now, I can't understand and countenance how many of you can see some of the things that Trump is doing, and I don't have Trump derangement syndrome, right? But some of the things that Trump is doing, if it was anybody else, you would rightly call out as authoritarian nonsense that is leading the US to a steady decline.
Like what?
I mean, the threats and attacks and intimidation, right, on universities, on law firms, on media outlets, all of those, plus his own political opponents, indicting former government officials who disagreed with him.
Hang on. You sat there and said nothing. Hang on. You sat there and said nothing while Joe Biden systematically wrote to the biggest tech companies in the world and told them to censor people, not just in America, but here in the United Kingdom. Donald Trump is reversing that mess, that institutional corruption. There is even Mark Zuckerberg openly said, I was told by Joe Biden's administration to censor people on Facebook who spoke out.
You wouldn't trust as far as Mark Zuckerberg, one of the most dangerous people ever to have lived.
Who?
Mark Zuckerberg. These tech bros who have put all the best technical talent in the world into making algorithms and social media feeds as addictive as possible.
And so you're not willing to...
almost all of
Kai, come on, you're being disingenuous. It's happened from...
You are.
I mean, come on, be serious. People on the left haven't been censoring people.
Now Keir Starmer's doing it with the online censorship bill. There you go.
You know that what you're saying is ridiculous.
The Democrats opened the door when it comes to lawfare. They can't be surprised that it's happening now.
So that makes it okay?
It doesn't make it okay, no, but it's not surprising.
It may be hypocritical even saying it.
Boy,
please.
I love watching Kai squirm. But still to come tonight.
So, hello, you've got your sign again. I found you again. Just show the camera, please. Show our viewers back in Bristol. What does it say?
It says that Mohammed was a proud trans woman.
What can I say? Trigger tantrums are next, and you're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Liz Mitchell, MBE, gracing us with her presence on the sofa this morning. Liz, so good to have you with us.
I am happy to be here.
You have the most incredible voice, the voice of a generation, the whole disco era. It is down to you. What do you think has made your songs so timeless? I mean, everybody knows them, don't they?
Everybody
knows them. Everybody.
One thing I'm very grateful for is the temper of our music, because it seems to be very friendly, warming, and even our slow songs. I was playing one just the other day for my 2-year-old grandson, and he said, more. I was so happy.
I'm with him on that. There's a real sense with your music, though, that it is uplifting.
Yes.
And you feel happy listening to it. I mean, despite whatever it is you're singing about, almost, it's just there's a joy to it.
Yes, and that is really a gift, I think, that most artists would want to have, is that when they make their music that is lasting and that is bringing happiness to people. Because for me, that's the whole point of singing. You know, you should be able to make the people you're entertaining feel happy, hear something good, forget the pain for a moment and just want to dance and just feel good.
And Boney M music is all over TikTok, isn't it? It's being remixed all the time. How do you feel watching your music being reinvented like that?
It is really wonderful. This has been going on since the 90s, that even before the 90s, people were remixing our songs. So it's the uniqueness of the vocals, because that's what is given to them, just the plain vocals, and then they put new music on it, and it still sounds like Boney M.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
They've all gone mad.
I'm losing the plot. I'm losing the plot.
Saturday 5. Alex Armstrong is trying his best to derail me. Coming up from 8 p.m. is Ask the Five. Send in your questions through gbnews.com/yoursay, and I will read them out. I've got a couple here that I quite liked. Maggie says they're allowed to be nuts in the US. They've actually got free speech. Yeah. But now it is time for Triggered Tantrums. We've got a free ticket to this week's Ringmasters of Rage, Clowns of Collapse and Acrobats of Absurdity tumbling over zilch. Just wait until you see what we've got. Will.
Yeah, and I've sometimes thought, if one day I was to go into politics, I don't think it would happen, but I would think, what would I do in my maiden speech? I'd probably quote Churchill, I'd praise Western civilization, I'd support individual freedoms, all that good stuff. That's not what Irini Kaipara did in the New Zealand Parliament in her maiden speech. Let's see how she chose to approach that moment.
No, not that. The guarantee was that would not be taking place. suspended.
Love it.
Wow.
Now, I know the lefties might want me to say, what a wonderful example of embracing her culture.
It's true.
They literally had to suspend Parliament for that stupidity. Literally, they all just start going ballistic and they go, well, I'm sorry, guys, you can't just go yelling and screaming when we actually have to debate policy, and they evacuated. These people are insane.
But couldn't they just let it get on with it and let it come to an end?
No, because they just kept going. You know, there's the second verse of the heart to the do.
Isn't that a cultural and indigenous cultural self-expression moment? Why not?
Yeah.
Do it outside of the legislative chamber where you're meant to be creating and debating policy. Do it there. Do it in the backyard.
I agree with Will. I think the problem is we've become politics has become so theatrical. It's all about the views, and I suspect they've done that knowing exactly what will happen. They're going to get loads of views on social media, and they're going to drum up themselves. They seem like the sort of SNP of Parliament, of the New Zealand Parliament, the SNP, the Pride sort of people who will just do anything to get on television and to make sure they've got their point heard.
I think it was amazing that a very attractive woman made herself very unattractive.
Well, yeah, I don't know what she looked like, actually. She had some lines on her face.
I thought that was her tongue.
Oh, was it? Maybe it was.
Imagine Nicholas.
It was cultural self-expression, that's all it is. I mean, to the Maori people and everyone else, I'm sure it had significance.
Imagine Nicola Sturgeon doing a haka. there's a thought for you guys to ponder.
Keep that to yourself.
Or Angela Rayner.
I reckon Angela Rayner would actually do a pretty good haka, but anyway, that's by the by.
We missed it. We want to back then. Angela, but no.
I think there's going to be a challenge. I think there will be a challenge. Anyway, sorry, that's separate.
Amazing. So, talking of madness, I think if we look at this first, I happened to tune into Ben Leo's brilliant new show this week. Starts at midnight, you can catch it tonight. And he's over there in New York, prowling the streets, seeing what kind of people are there, and this is what he found.
So, hello, you've got your sign again. I found you again. Just show the camera, please. Show our viewers back in Bristol. What does it say?
It says that Muhammad was a proud trans woman. I didn't get to put proud trans lesbian, but trans lesbian.
What are you talking about? What do you mean Muhammad was trans?
Prophet Muhammad was the first trans woman. She was a beautiful trans lesbian.
According to what?
According to the Quran.
Okay, and you're with the pro-Palestine lot, are you?
Yes, I am very pro-Palestine. I will not stop fighting until 50% of Gaza's government is trans women.
What do you think would happen to you if you went into Gaza holding that sign?
I don't know, but we need to keep fighting.
I can tell you.
We need trans women to be ruling Gaza.
You'd be thrown off a building, probably.
We need trans women to be in charge of Gaza.
All right, okay.
Ben just finds the best clips. I
was about to say, Ben has mastered the art of the vox pop. He has mastered it.
Trey, you're shaking your head. Why?
It's just clearly someone that's trolling. You can't even take that seriously, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's someone trolling, or someone that's not that well within themselves.
It definitely seems like he's taking the mickey. But I will say that he's perpetuating the left-wing ideology, and he's making a mockery of it because that's exactly what it needs. It needs mocking. Shows the contradiction in the two things, doesn't it?
I'm not convinced. Every week, guys, we see how loony these people are. You're coming at it from a perspective of, to varying degrees on the table, a logical mind. Like, that, they are so ballistically insane. I can completely believe that was sincere.
Could be right.
I think the thing is, the more serious point is that you would never have found somebody saying that on the streets of any country in the West. I'm going to say 20 years ago, but I think probably I'm going to say 10 years ago. And this is where we've moved. And we do need to call it out, Trey, whether or not we're trolling or they're trolling, because this is the madness that has gone into everything that we have, and we're seeing it all around us.
I've got a sneaky suspicion, right? If you can go back to the Nixon administration and to the anti-Vietnam protests, you probably could have found a few loonies talking like that.
What, that Mohammed was trans?
Yeah, you're going to find lots of people talking all sorts of stuff. I don't think there's nothing new about it. I think there's lots of well people out there, and I think he's a demonstration of that. It's just such a ludicrous statement.
I'm
sorry. You can't dignify it with a response.
I'm sorry. Protesting to stop a war in Southeast Asia is very different to saying that a 7th century religious leader, I'll use that term, was trans. There's fundamental differences there, Trey.
Which says that person's not very well. It's such a ludicrous argument.
I think if he's trolling or even if he's unwell, I think it says something about the ideology of the left. The two things that he's talking about are directly against each other. I think he's saying that Islam would never accept trans. And the same saying, we've got a free Palestine, trans people wouldn't be accepted in Palestine, the same as the chickens for KFC, queers for Gaza. And he's exposing the kind of ridiculousness of their argument. And we saw it a few weeks. I think you played, or one of you two played the clip of the big queer, as they call themselves, the bloke dressed up in drag, protesting for Gaza. And I'm just thinking, you'd be the tallest building left there.
Alex, we've said that the only thing that binds this group together is a desire to tear down Western civilization.
I think you'll
that
see
is
this
the
on both
commonality.
sides of the spectrum, though. I don't know if you guys saw one of the sidemen was talking to people at the Tommy Robertson March, and some of them were saying some absolutely ludicrous stuff, which is kind of akin to this, you know, saying, "Oh, we're being invaded. There's 14,000 Muslims in the
No, there's considerably more.
She was talking absolute nonsense. I think you just see it on both sides of the political spectrum. She had no idea what.
1,000 people the other day. We are being invaded.
Yeah, no, but it's the same
all completely fair.
You'll find it on both sides.
As a woman, I think this is an ideology that we need to expose for its idiocy and get rid of. But anyway, Trey.
Just going to say, talking of morons, I've got loads of them on footage for you at 9 o'clock tonight. I've just got to pitch my own show very briefly there.
The master of self-promotion ad again.
We're coming up, it's a Saturday 5 Extra. We are going to let our hair down. Anything can happen, so get ready, because we're going to play you more madness, and we'll be back in just a short moment.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry weather continues for most of us through the course of this weekend. There will be some fog around overnight tonight, but as we go through Sunday, the sunshine will break through once again. And high pressure is really dominating the UK's weather through the next few days, centred slap bang across the middle of the UK, so bringing light winds and dry weather for many. Northern Scotland, though, will see a bit of light rain and drizzle through the course of this evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning, but otherwise a mixture of cloud and clear spells. Where the clear skies do persist for any length of time, we'll see temperatures drop down into low single figures, perhaps in rural spots. But there'll also be some mist and fog developing. We think most likely in parts of England and Wales, but southern Scotland could also see some fog patches by the end of the night as well. In the south of the UK, it's perhaps more likely to be a mixture of mist and low clouds, so a murky start to the day for many. Some sunshine, though, for West Wales and Northern England, although there will be some fog around here, particularly in the Vale of York. Cloudy skies for Northern Ireland and certainly across northern Scotland. Still quite gloomy conditions here. Areas of low cloud and mist around across the hills and around the coast as well, with some bits and pieces of light rain and drizzle perhaps still possible. Through the day, though, I am expecting that cloud in the south and the fog to lift. So, generally, by the afternoon, a brighter story for many of us. Some sunshine for many, too. Generally tending to hold on to a bit more in the way of cloud, probably for Northern Ireland, and certainly across northern Scotland, still a bit gloomy here with some bits and pieces of rain. Temperatures, though, in the best of sunshine, 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, so feeling pleasant for October. More in the way of cloud, generally speaking, across England and Wales by Monday. That cloud potentially enough to give the odd spit or spot of light rain or drizzle in the breeze, but most places staying dry. Plenty of sunshine for Scotland and perhaps northern England, but generally through the week ahead we are expecting to see quite a bit of cloud for most of us, and temperatures around the seasonal normal but slightly below in places.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 09